You've worked in healthcare as a nurse, as a care worker, as a medical doctor. This is the best place for you to be. All right. So let's dive right into our session for today. And remember, if you know somebody, you have a friend, you know somebody that can benefit from our session today, you want to get them into this session. All right. So feel free to copy the link, share it with a friend, share it with a family, and let's have an amazing time together. One thing I'd want us to do before we wrap up is a Q&A. So make a note of all the questions you have. And before we wrap up, we will have the opportunity to have a conversation around questions and the answers. And I'll be sure to provide answers to all the questions that you have. Now, let's dive right into the main meat of our session today. Why are we here today? Okay, why are we here? Now, we are here simply because there are a whole lot of you joining us today who wants to switch from the healthcare space into the tech ecosystem. So we have career switchers on the call. You've done something before, but now you want to move into the tech ecosystem. And there is something that usually would be common with people working in the healthcare space. And if this is you, and I'm sure one way or the other, one of these areas would align to the type of situation you find yourself at the moment. Number one is you are burnt out. You are physically strained. You are tired of bedside care. For those of you that are nurses, that are support workers, care workers, you are exhausted. You want to get into tech, but you don't know where to start. You have no clue. Where do I start from? Okay, what do I do? What's the next right step for me? And these are some of the questions you have. This is one of the situations that you'd find yourself. Okay, so for some of you on the call here today, you are nurses, you are healthcare assistants, you are care workers, support workers, medical doctors, and so on and so forth. You want to transition into the tech ecosystem, but you are scared of starting over because you don't know what would happen. Will I lose all my years of experience? What would happen to my 5 years experience, my 2 years experience, and so on and so forth? All right. And of course, we also have some of you who have valuable domain knowledge in healthcare. So you have extensive experience. All right. As a medical doctor, you have extensive experience as a nurse, or you have educational experience or educational background from the university. However, you don't know how to use that to your advantage. How do I transition my experience into the health tech ecosystem? How does that serve as an advantage for me? So these are some of the things I'll be showing you in our session today. And like I said, if you have a friend, you know somebody who should be here today, invite them to this session. All right. Now, for some of you, you are mothers, you are fathers, you want to be more present at home. You want a more flexible job, a remote work. Okay, maybe not 100% remote, but hybrid. Some days you work in the office, some days you work from home. You want to spend more time with your family, with your children, with your kids, and you want a career, but you don't want to sacrifice your family because you want a career. And some of you are also in this situation. Okay, now what I'll be doing today for you, my job is to show you how to get started, how to make that transition, how to pivot from healthcare into health tech. And the best way possible for you to do that, no fluff, direct, straight strategies on every single thing you need to do. And these are strategies that have worked for hundreds and thousands of people across different other areas and also for people within the healthcare space. So that's my job today. And one of the things I'll show you how to do out of the 4 things we'll look at today is how to convert your healthcare experience into a job in tech within 6 months, 6 to 8 months. How can you do this? For people that have done it, how did they do it? I'll show you how to do that. I would also show you how to learn the skills required to land a job in health tech. Now, a lot of you might think you know how to learn the skills or you know the skills required. But I've seen from my conversations with so many people, over 90% of the conversations I've had with people got me to realize that a lot of you are learning the wrong way. So what's the best way to learn to become a professional within health tech? I'd also walk you through that. I'll show you how to gain work experience to show employers that you are the best candidate for that job. Okay. Now, for so many of you, you've worked in healthcare all your life, or for the last couple of months or years, but you want to change. You want to move into the tech ecosystem, and you need to show your employer, that potential employer, that you have the experience, not just the skills. And this is where a lot of people make mistakes. They go for only the skills, the technical skills, but that alone would not land you the job. You need a lot more than that. Today, employers want to see that you've done that job before. They don't want to hear what you can do. They want to see what you have done. All right. So how do you gain work experience without landing a job in health tech? So when you get into that interview, you can speak the language within the health tech space. You can talk about the type of project, the work you've done, analyzing healthcare data, medical data, clinical data, and so on and so forth. And finally, I'll show you how to apply to jobs, how to land jobs, how to get started. It doesn't matter where you are. If you're in the US, you are in the UK, you are in Canada, Europe, across the world, the same strategy applies to you. All right. So let's sit back, relax, and would have an amazing next 1.5 hours, 1 hour for the presentation, 30 minutes for Q&A. So make sure you have a pen, make sure you don't have distractions around you, make notes. Let's have an amazing time in the next 1.5 hours. Now, for those of you joining us for the first time, Tenalytics is the leading educational technology company focused on helping people land high-paying jobs across the globe within the tech ecosystem. And over the last 5 years, we've helped over 3,400 plus people to transition from the classroom into their first jobs within the tech ecosystem across the US, the UK, Canada, across Europe, Africa, Asia, and so on and so forth. All right. And for me leading the session today, my name is Adeza Suleiman. I'm a technology expert with over a decade experience spanning across data analytics and management consulting. As the founder of Tenalytics and the co-founder of Amdari, we've helped over 3,400 people with no prior tech experience, no prior data knowledge, no prior experience within the tech ecosystem. We've helped them to make the transition into the tech space. And I'll be showing you exactly how we've done this and how you can also get into the same space. All right. I've worked as a data analytics, data engineering contractor. That's what I currently do in Canada. I've worked as a data science consultant in the UK, in the US. I've lived and I've worked in the UK. I worked for companies in the US back when I was in Nigeria, working remotely for organizations in the US. I've worked with one of the largest privately owned energy conglomerates in sub-Saharan Africa as a data analyst, as a business data analyst, as a management information systems analyst. And I've worked as a data analytics consultant with FITC, owned by the Central Bank of Nigeria and the Bankers Committee. Now, let's dive into the main meat of our session today. The reason why we are all here. You're a registered nurse. I can see questions coming up already from Queen. Queen is a registered nurse with 2 years experience in hematology in the UK. I really need this and I want to move into tech. Absolutely. So Queen, what you want to do is pay attention to this session. Okay. You won't get it any better anywhere else. Okay. So pay attention. All the strategy, I'll share stories and success stories of people that were in your situation and they've been able to transition. And I'll show you exactly what they did. And it's something that you can also do 100%. Okay. Now, one of the first things you want to do is to make your job easy. Make landing a job a lot easier for you. So if you move into a space where employers are actively searching for people within that role, you make your job a lot easier for you to land. All right. And you in healthcare, you want to look for the next best opportunity for somebody like Queen who wants to leave hematology. She's worked as a nurse, experience in hematology, but she wants to move into the tech ecosystem. What's the best thing for you to do? The best thing is for you to look at career path within the health tech space so that your healthcare experience does not become useless. Your experience as a nurse, your experience in hematology would be valid and extremely important for you in making that transition. And I'll show you the reason why that's the case. All right. So the first thing you want to do, which is the reason why we are here today, every one of you, is to land a high demand role within the healthcare space. And there are so many roles, and I'll share just, a few of them because a lot of people use the word tech loosely. But when you look at tech and health tech, there are specific roles that gives you the best possible opportunities. Number one is the healthcare business analyst, the healthcare informatics specialist, the healthcare data and reporting analyst, the medical data analyst, the healthcare data analyst, the clinical data analyst, the pathology data analyst, clinical decision support analyst, the medical imaging analyst, healthcare AI engineer, and there's so many other roles. But one of the things you'd find repeating itself common across all these roles is data, data, data. So today you would understand what the healthcare data analyst actually does. You would know what the healthcare data and reporting analyst will do in an organization and why you fit into that role perfectly. Okay, so these are roles within the health tech space and roles I want us to focus on today. And I'll show you how to get these opportunities and where to get these opportunities. But one of the questions people would always ask is, have people done it before? Has anybody been in Queen's situation who worked as a nurse, but today has transitioned into a data role, has transitioned into a health tech role? Absolutely. Let's start with Sharon. Sharon is the first case study I'm going to share with you today. Sharon worked with the NHS as a healthcare assistant in the UK. Okay, so Queen, this is a very good story for you to look at. All right, Sharon was a healthcare assistant with the NHS. Today, Sharon is a business data analyst, and she is still on sponsorship. So she wanted sponsorship in the UK. She's a Kenyan. She moved from Kenya. She moved to the UK as a care worker. She got a job with the NHS as a healthcare assistant, but she wanted more. So what did Sharon do? Sharon joined the Tenalytics program in March 2025, last year. We worked on Sharon's CV for her. She tailored her CV. She joined all the mentorship sessions. She knew exactly what to do, how to apply to internal roles within the NHS and also external roles that give her opportunity to land a job a lot easier. She built a portfolio. And what happened next? She applied to so many roles. And from when she joined us in March 2025, between March and May, just about 3 months after joining us, Sharon was able to land a job as a business data analyst. This is a healthcare assistant moving from a healthcare assistant role into a business data analyst. Okay, and I'm going to share some of these profiles with you so you have an idea and you have a look at how some of these professionals made the transition. Okay, so Sharon recorded a video speaking about how she did this, the role Tenalytics played. It's a long interview, but the links are here on my slide. My colleague would share all the slides. The slides today, the links, everything I'll be showing you, all the materials. You'd get them at the end of today's session. So make sure you fill the attendance form. Okay, that's the only way you get all the materials. Then you have Pavel. Pavel is in the US. But Pavel had experience as a teacher in Cameroon. Today, Pavel is a healthcare data analyst in the US. And how did Pavel get here? All right. Pavel, just like Sharon, moved to the US and needed to land a job in a progressive career path, a job that is high paying, a job where he can work from home, and so on and so forth. So Pavel joined our data analytics program, completed in December 2024, did all the amazing stuff, the CV, the LinkedIn, and I'll show you how that works, how that plays out eventually, and why that is important to the success stories you'd see today. Pavel got multiple job offers. I prepared Pavel for his interviews. I prepared Pavel to negotiate his salary before he received this particular offer. And in March last year, 2025, 3 months after completing his data analytics program, Pavel landed a healthcare data analyst role with the Arizona Community Physicians in Tucson, Arizona, in the US. Okay, so I'm going to take you to Pavel's profile. I'm going to take you to Sharon's profile on LinkedIn as well. So we're going to have a look at their LinkedIn profile and see what some of these people did and how they were able to transition. Okay, so let's go on LinkedIn and then I'll come back and share more success stories with you. Okay, just need to be sure I'm sharing the correct. Okay, so let's go on LinkedIn very quickly. So I'm going to take you to Sharon's profile, take you to Pavel's profile, and then I'll walk you through some of the things that they did and how they were able to get here. Okay, so let's go to Pavel. Pavel, from a teacher to a healthcare data analyst. So that's Pavel right there. So let's go to Pavel's profile. So one of the first things you'd see is Pavel is a data analyst. Okay. So from his headline, you clearly know what he does. And this is where LinkedIn optimization becomes very important. So we helped Pavel with his LinkedIn optimization. And the moment he completed this, he started receiving messages from recruiters. But let's go to Pavel's profile very quickly. All right. So Pavel today works with the Arizona Community Physicians. He got this job in March 2025. He's a healthcare data and reporting analyst. So what he does is to get healthcare data, clinical data, analyze the data to help the organization take decisions to streamline operations, optimize processes, and so on and so forth. Now, before Pavel got this job, what did he do? He worked with us at Analytics. He joined us at Analytics, and you can see that clearly right here. Okay, worked with us, internship, data analyst, and then data analyst one contracts. Now, this positioned Pavel as a candidate that already had experience. So when a recruiter sees your LinkedIn and your CV and they see that your most recent role is the role they're trying to hire for, you increase your chances of landing that job. Okay, so this is a hack I'm giving to you already on LinkedIn. So if you're a nurse today, and you want to showcase to employers, potential employers, they are the right person for that job, you must show them that you are currently working on projects within that space, or you've completed numerous projects within that same role you want to get, the healthcare data analyst role, the business data analyst role, the pathology data analyst role, and so on and so forth. So that was part of what helped Pavel to land this job. Okay, so that's Pavel, currently works with the Arizona Community Physicians in the US, healthcare data reporting analyst. And of course, we also have Sharon. Let's go to Sharon's profile very quickly. Sharon, the amazing healthcare assistant who moved from being a healthcare assistant with the NHS to a business data analyst. Okay, so you'd see she worked as a healthcare assistant with the NHS for over 3 years, almost 3.5 years. But today, Sharon is a business data analyst. And there's so many other success stories like that. And as we move on, I'll share these success stories and exactly what these professionals did. Okay, I'm not going to be able to play all the videos, but I want you to make sure you fill the attendance so you can always watch the videos when you get the slide. I'll play a few videos, maybe 2 or 3, depending on time. Okay, now let's look at Ikmat. Ikmat was a stay-at-home mom. She moved to the UK for her master's. She had a baby and she had to stay at home, stay out of work for a very long time, even before she moved to the UK. All right. But Ikmat was able to transition from a stay-at-home mom without a job to working with the NHS on full visa sponsorship as an information analyst. Information analyst is a fancy way of saying a data analyst. All right. So you start to understand that because I have learned data analytics, it doesn't mean that the only type of job I get is as a data analyst. I can get a job as an information analyst like ICMAT. I can get a job as a healthcare data reporting analyst like Pavel. So many other roles. I'll be sharing that with you. Okay. So ICMAT, from a full-time stay-at-home mom, she had a 2-year employment gap. She moved to the UK for a master's in public health. But while she was doing her master's in the UK and searching for jobs that she would apply to after completing her master's, she realized something. She realized that the master's program did not teach her how to use different technology tools that she would have to implement in the real world of work. So when she searched for roles in the healthcare space, with the NHS and so many other organizations, she realized that they wanted somebody who knew how to use Excel. They wanted somebody who knew how to use Power BI in addition to your healthcare knowledge. So she knew that her master's in public health was not going to help her. So what did she do? ICMAT joined our data analytics program, just like Pavel, just like Sharon. Okay. She joined the data analytics program while she was still on the program before she wrapped up her program. She also wanted sponsorship, and she was able to land a job in 2024, January, with the NHS as an information analyst. And the job came with full visa sponsorship. ICMAT had about 2 to 3 offers that came with sponsorship, and she selected the best one for her, which was with the NHS. The pay was a little bit better than the other offers, and it also came with sponsorship. She could work from home. I think about 2, 3 days work from home, and then about 2 days in the office. So it was the best offer for her. And that's Ikmat's story. So I'm going to play Ikmat's video. I want you to listen to Ikmat. And one thing I want you to pick, or a couple of things I want you to pick from Ikmat's story is what kind of mindset got her to this particular position. Okay, so listen carefully, listen to what made her get this job, the things she had to do, and I'll come back and I'll show you specifically what Ikmat did, what Pavel did, what Sharon did, and all the other professionals I'll share with you. What did they do to get them to this particular position? Okay, so let's listen to Ikmat very quickly, and then we'll come back to continue with the rest of our session. Okay, I just need to be sure you can hear the audio. And all right, so let's go to Ikmat. If you have questions from time to time, pop it into the chat. I'll take it. I'm a carer here in the UK. I want to move to tech. Don't worry. I'll show you carer support workers who are now, health in the health tech space and so many other similar situations. Okay, I can see so many questions, so many questions, so many questions. I'll take all the questions. All right. Now, let's listen to Ikmat very quickly, and then we come back to wrap up. So I'm going to play the video and then I'll stop. So you let me know if you can hear Ikmat and she's loud and audible. Just give me a thumbs up or type in yes into the chat.
Everyone, my name is Ikmat, and I was with the match goal.
So if you can hear Ikmat, just give me a thumbs up, type in a yes, and then I'll continue with the video. Okay. Fantastic. Thanks, Blessing. Thanks, Mobolaji. So let's listen to Ikmat. It's just for 3 minutes. Okay. So sit back, relax, and let's listen. You're not good with computer. Don't worry. Ofori, you don't need to have any experience. That's the limitation most people put on themselves. I'm not good with computer. I don't know mathematics. I don't know this. I don't know that. Those are myths. That's not the reality. Okay. Ikmat had never done tech before, but here she is today working with the NHS. You don't need to have a background in tech. You don't need to have a background in computer science. You don't need to have a background, um, you know, working on computers. So if you don't have the knowledge, you are in the right place. That's why you are here today. Okay, so let's hear Ikmat.
Hi everyone, my name is Ikmat, and I was with the March cohort in 10 Analytics, and joining 10 Analytics has been the best decision so far. For me, someone coming from a background of full housewife, because I had to stay back home to look after my child for 4 years, and then wanting to break into something new, wanting to go back into the workforce, wanting to place myself in the society for better job opportunities. So it was a lot. And then I'm glad that Tenalytics came along, and then they presented me with so many opportunities right in front of me, better opportunities. And then I'm glad I took it. And then also the advice of do not sell yourself short, that Effie is always saying, it is very, very valid, because place yourself right, don't sell yourself short. It's a very, very, very valid advice. In analytics, they will hold your hands like a child, through the modules. You have the opportunity to go back and study. You have the opportunity to go back and practice. You have the opportunity to ask questions. You have people you can always go back to, even outside of class hours. It's the most amazing experience so far, really. And then another thing is the interview prep, guys. That is another very important thing. I did my interview prep with Mr. Mohammed, and it is the best decision ever, because he was like, he saw into the future. He knew what was going to be asked. And I'm glad that I wrote down all the things he mentioned. I went back to practice, and then when it was time for the interview, it was like everything he was mentioning, everything he mentioned, it was just, they kept on. And then when I was answering those questions, I was so confident, because I already practiced. I did an Excel test, I did a maths test, and then they were really impressed. And another thing is, guys, it may not come as fast as you expect. Definitely you are going to get some no's, and then you may begin to think you're not good enough. You are good enough, yes. The no's will come, but always take it as a basis for learning and development, because after every interview where I got a no, I always make sure I get a personal feedback. So I work on those feedbacks for my next interviews. And yes, it worked. It really worked for me, because I got my first job 3 months into the program, my first job. But I couldn't take up the job because I was a student, and I was only eligible to work 20 hours. So I couldn't take up the job. 3 months later, I got 2 jobs with full visa sponsorship. And guys, all the other no's before the 2 jobs prepared me for the yeses I got. So yes, the no's will come, but do not give up, because you always have analytics to go back to. They are the best, and the best thing that's ever happened to me. And then yes, and they are the most affordable, one I've come across so far, and that's a very good advantage. So yes, analytics for the win.
So that's Ikmat. Okay, phenomenal professional. She said something very important. Okay, for those of you that took notes, she said she had her interview prep with Mr. Mohammed, and that made a difference for her. It was as if Mr. Mohammed saw into the future, as if he could tell all the questions that were going to be asked during the interview, and she prepared based on that. And eventually, she went into the room, she presented herself as the best candidate for that job, and she got the job. She had rejections, okay, but that wasn't enough to stop her from pushing ahead. 3 months into the program, she got her first offer, but she couldn't take that opportunity because she was still doing her master's. Now, what does that tell you? It tells you that Ikmat did not wait until she completed her master's before she started putting in applications. She did not wait until she completed the program before she started putting in applications. And these are the things we push you to do. We encourage you and give you the confidence to go ahead and start applying to jobs. Ikmat today, we bring her back as a mentor to help other people who are looking to transition, especially those in the UK, those who want to get a job with the NHS, those who have, similar situation like her. We bring her back and she helps people to also make the same transition. That's Ikmat's story. Somebody said, I saw in the chat, Ayonfe Jesus said, I do not have healthcare experience. It doesn't matter if you don't have healthcare experience. This gentleman, I think I showed him earlier, Pavel. Pavel was a teacher. Pavel had never worked in healthcare before. Never. He had no healthcare experience. But today, he's a healthcare data reporting analyst. The same strategy that worked for Ikmat was the same strategy that worked for Pavel. So Ayonfe Jesu, I'm going to show you exactly what these professionals did and what exactly you need to do. If you don't have a portfolio as a data analyst, forget about getting a job. You'll find it difficult to get a job, especially in the world of work today. If you don't have the right skills, you have a deficit in one area. You know how to use Excel and SQL. You don't know Power BI. You don't know Tableau. You will struggle to land a job because the job market is competitive. So you need to stand out. So what makes you stand out? What made Ikmat stand out? What made Pavel stand out? Okay, so I'm going to share some of those things with you. I can see so many questions. We'll have time for Q and A. All right. So this is Ikmat. Now, one of the things that Ikmat did to land this job, one of the things Pavel did to land a job, Sharon and numerous other professional, was to learn the skills required of a healthcare data analyst. And not just to learn the skill, but to learn the skill the right way. For me, myself, my background is not in computer science or in technology. My first degree was in industrial chemistry. So I also made a transition just like you in healthcare. My first degree in industrial chemistry, my first job out of the university was as a management consultant. But over the last 12 years, I've worked as a data analyst, MIS analyst, business data analyst, data engineer, and so on and so forth. I also made a transition. So there is a model that works. Okay. So learning the skills required and learning the right way makes the difference. And I'm going to show you the skills required to land a job in the health tech space. And I'll show you how to learn, the best way to learn. If you are learning any way else, if the way you learn today is different from what I'm showing, you want to go take a look, take a step back, look at what you're doing, and ask yourself the question, is this working for me? If it's not working for you, then perhaps you want to take my strategy and implement that strategy. Okay. So before we dive into the main skills, before we dive into the best way to learn, let's start with a question. What does a healthcare data analyst do? So for people in the health tech space, as a healthcare data analyst, healthcare data reporting analyst, pathology data analyst, there's so many roles, similar job function in terms of what you'll be doing on a day to day. The job title is just different. So what do they do? So if I'm for somebody like Queen, who is a nurse, tomorrow Queen wants to become, a healthcare informatics specialist. She wants to become a healthcare data analyst. What would she be doing in that hospital or in that medical organization or institution? Okay, so let's take this case study very quickly. Would answer it together. Would use a scenario to explain what the healthcare data analyst does. And by the time we are done, you have a good understanding of what you'd be doing. So let's take this scenario. A mid-sized hospital is facing ICU congestion, bed shortages, and rising patient costs. To improve bed utilization, patient flow, cost efficiency, and quality of care, the hospital leadership wants to know how the length of stay varies by medical condition, by department, and bed type. So this is a situation where a mid-sized hospital is currently facing some issues. They have congestion in their ICU. They have bed shortages for patients. And the cost for inpatients keeps on rising. It's a problem they need to solve. So the leadership of the hospital wants to know, how does the length of stay vary across multiple areas? So for the medical condition, how does length of stay vary? For the department, what's the length of stay? The bed type, so they can take a decision on what to do. They need to know and answer these questions. So we have 3 questions to answer for this hospital to help the leadership take a decision. And the first question is, which medical condition has the longest length of stay? Number 2, which department in the hospital has the longest length of stay? And number 3, what type of beds have the longest length of stay? We need to answer these 3 questions so that leadership can take decision to improve patient flow, to reduce the costs of inpatients within the hospital, and so on and so forth. So let's do this together. Let's answer these 3 questions together. So I'd ask you the questions, provide me with an answer in the chat. Okay, so this is what the data looks like. So this data was extracted from the medical information system, the medical records within that hospital. And this is the data we would use to answer the question for the leadership. So the first question, let's try to answer that. Which medical condition has the longest length of stay? This is the medical condition right here. If you can see my pen, which medical condition? So try to answer the question by looking at the data. Of course, this is not all the data. This is just an extract of the entire data. You have about over 5,000 rows of data, but we just took a few extracted. So which medical condition? Just type into the chat. Mayal says cancer. Zoom user says cancer. Let's get more feedback. Daniela says heart trauma, heart attack, stroke, severe trauma. Queen says heart attack. Let's get more feedback, okay? This is how you understand the role of the healthcare data analyst. Onyeka says heart attack. Blessing says heart attack. There's no wrong or right answers. You might be wrong, but this is a learning environment, okay? So I'll show you what the right answer is, and it will be easy for you to select the right answer eventually. Okay, so that's question number 1. Fine. So we have different, answers. We have heart attack, heart conditions. Let's see. We have stroke and severe trauma. We have cancer. Okay, and so on. Somebody says oncology. That's also one of the, medical conditions with the longest length of stay. Now let's try the second question. That's question number 1, right? Let's try the second question, which is, which department has the longest length of stay? So this is the department right here, number 2. Let me write it there so you can see my screen. That's number 2. So which department has the longest length of stay? Which department? Chinedum says neurology. Mayel says ICU. Let's get more feedback. Oge says cardiology. So we have 3 different answers right now. We don't know which one is correct. Mommy K says oncology. All right. We don't know the correct answer, but we've gotten 3 different answers. Now let's try the third one and let's see. The third question is, what type of beds have the longest length of stay? So this is the hospital beds. Let me just write that right here. Number 3. Okay, so what type of beds have the longest length of stay? Don't be scared to get it wrong. Just type into the chat. Let's see your feedback. And I'll give you the answer. You choose the answers yourself. Oge says semi-private room. Let's get more feedback. Okay, Oge says semi-private room. Who has a different opinion to Oge? Infinix says general wards. Mommy K says semi-private. Beautiful. Let's get more feedback. Private room from Onyeka. We also have about 3 different answers, right? Now, what we've just done in trying to answer these 3 questions from the data that we have on the screen is the confusion organizations usually have when they try to answer questions from a data-driven perspective. You get different answers because everybody would come with opinion. Oh, this is what I can see. This is what it is. Somebody says it's oncology. Somebody says it's cardiology. Somebody says it's, pediatrics. Somebody says semi-private room, general ward. Somebody says private room. And we have all these different answers. But now, what the healthcare data analyst does is take this entire data, analyze the data, and make it easy or easier for the stakeholders to understand so they can take a decision. So they take this data, the data set the way it is, and they convert it into something like this. So let's start the questions again from question one. So this is number one right here. I want you to tell me which medical condition has the longest length of stay. Looking at that chart at the top left corner, type into the chart and let's see. The medical condition with the longest length of stay. Tumor, Ifeoluwani, Mobolaji tumor, Nyantaki tumor, Infinix tumor, Zoom user tumor, Abigail tumor. Everybody now has the same answer, right? Absolutely. And for everybody that selected tumor, you're all correct. That's what you have right at the top. It is a lot easier to look at this and understand what the data actually says. Let's look at question number two that we try to answer with different answers. Okay, then before I give the answer out, okay, so which department has the longest length of stay? Which department? Type into the chart. Which department has the longest length of stay? Blessing says oncology, Mobology oncology, Zoom user oncology, Adeni Oge oncology, Meshach oncology, Mommy K oncology. Fantastic. Now we don't have different answers anymore. We have a uniform answer because this is what the data actually says. And finally, the third question, which type of beds have the longest length of stay? This is number three right here. Okay, so which type of beds have the longest length of stay? Type into the chart. Private room, Oge, Abigail, private, Adeni, private, Zoom user, private, Onyeka, private. Okay, private, private, private. So now we don't have different answers. Can you see what we've done? Can you see how easy it is to look at that same data that was confusing? But now you can look at a chart and the chart tells you clearly what the data actually says. This is what the healthcare data analyst does in an organization. They take the data, they use different tools like Excel, Power BI, Tableau, SQL. They analyze the data and come up with insights, information from what the data says. So rather than having different answers of people guessing and thinking of what the right answer is, we know what the data actually says. And the data analyst must always give a summary and recommendations because the leadership of this particular hospital wants to take a decision. So they need to know, you've analyzed the data. Tell us your recommendations. What do you think? So the data analyst is saying the hospital could explore optimizing the oncology department's process to reduce the length of stay, potentially freeing up resources for other patients, and also investing in efficient treatment protocols for conditions like cancer might also contribute to shorter stays. This is the role of the healthcare data analyst. They take data that looks messy and confusing and gives us different answers, different results. They convert it into a report, a dashboard that is easy to see, easy to understand, giving their recommendations. And simply put, the healthcare data analysts are professionals who analyze healthcare data. So they don't analyze customer data, sales data, analyze different other types of data. What do? They analyze healthcare clinical data to support decisions to reduce costs, improve operational efficiency, and patient outcomes. They can work in different industries, different sectors, work in the hospital, healthcare insurance companies, the government's health agencies, NGOs, public health organizations, health tech companies, and of course, pharmaceutical companies. Now, if you understand what the healthcare data analyst does from this illustration, just type in a yes into the chat. Type in a yes into the chat. It all makes sense right now. So every organization has data, but they don't know what to do with the data. It's confusing. Everybody has an idea, an opinion, which is obviously wrong. What the healthcare data analyst does, they come in, they get that data, analyze the data using different tools that they've learned, like Excel, like Power BI, like Tableau, and they come up with a report, a dashboard, bringing in solutions, insights, and information to make it easy to see what the data actually says and take a decision from there. It's as simple as that. All right. So now that we know what the healthcare data analyst does, how do you become a healthcare data analyst? And what are the mistakes a lot of people make in becoming a healthcare data analyst? Because a lot of people have tried, I've seen them before, we've had conversations, and they tell me that, Adeza, thank God I got to have this conversation with you because I had a different idea on what to do. I had been learning, watching YouTube, doing Udemy, but it has really not helped me because I don't have a structured learning approach. Okay. So some of the mistakes that you make, number one is you are learning by watching videos. Imagine how you became a care worker. Imagine how you became a nurse. Imagine how you became a medical doctor. Imagine what you are doing today. How did you get there? Did you get there by watching videos? Can you become a medical doctor or a nurse by watching videos? No, you can't. To become a nurse, you must do the work of a nurse. You must practice. Okay? To get a job, you must know how to do that job, not by watching videos, but by doing the job itself. A lot of people watch videos on YouTube, on Udemy, and try to do what they see in the videos, but that's never enough. You need more than that. That's one mistake you are making. Number two is you don't have real projects. You don't have a portfolio. All right. If you need to land a job in this space, you see that example I gave to you. It is one of the projects. It's a simplified version of the project you'd work on. That's a very simplified version just for this session for a few minutes to have this engaging session with you guys. But in class, you get to work on the entire data set, multiple records, multiple different attributes, and you analyze that data. And it becomes part of the project and the work that you've done because you add that to your portfolio. All right. So if you don't have projects, you've not done the work of a healthcare data analyst, you cannot get a job as a healthcare data analyst. Again, you don't have local work experience. You are in Poland, you are in the UK, you are in Canada, you are in the US. Okay. But you've never worked in health tech. You've never worked on projects. You don't have evidence that you've done solved that particular problem before. You'd struggle to land a job. It's a mistake you're making. Okay. You use generic CVs and LinkedIn. You don't even know how to structure your CV. Moving from a nurse to health tech, moving from a medical doctor, moving from a master's in public health, moving from a career path that is totally different. Say you are moving from an accountant to, health tech. You use a generic CV that does not properly represent you to land that next job. You're making a big mistake. Same with your LinkedIn. And of course, you don't have a professional working with you, teaching you the different nuances within that career path. And more importantly, prepping you for interviews. If you listen to Ikmat, she talked about how a Mr. Mohammed helped her prepare for her interview. And it was like he saw into the future. And everything he said and prepared her on came out during the interview itself. And she was able to answer those questions confidently. Okay. So if you don't have any of these five things, you are doing it wrong and you are always going to struggle to land a job. So how do you start to shift from all of these to doing the right things? Okay. So the skills you need, first of all, moving into the health tech space is your domain knowledge. It's either you have your domain knowledge in healthcare from experience, you have your domain knowledge from education. You have your domain knowledge from working on projects that you complete when you join the program. However, you want to get that domain knowledge, you must have domain knowledge. And domain knowledge is your understanding of the domain of the healthcare space, understanding what length of stay means, understanding the importance of length of stay to the increase in cost of inpatients. Understanding these things helps you communicate during interviews, and the interviewers would know that you've done this thing before, and they give you a chance to come in and do it for them. And that's how you get the job. So your domain knowledge is important. You add your domain knowledge with what? Data analytics skills. So these are the two broad ingredients that would enable you make this transition. It's either you have one of the two, you could either have one of the two, or maybe you don't even have any of the two. But to land the job, you must have the two. So if you have one, you have more work to do. If you don't have any, you have more work to do. If you have the two, then you can start looking at the chances of you landing a job. And when it comes to the key learning areas in data analytics, there are a couple of skills you must have. Somebody typed in the chat, I know how to use Excel, I know SQL, but I really don't have Power BI. You have a deficit. And if you have a deficit, you'll be competing with people who have everything. So how do you want to beat them and get that job ahead of them? If an organization needs somebody that can also use Tableau and Power BI, but you have Excel, SQL, how do you compete with somebody who has Excel, SQL, Power BI, Tableau? So you must understand problem solving. Problem solving is your ability to identify a problem, break that problem into multiple parts, and start attacking each part and solving the entire problem at the end of the day. So you learn different frameworks and techniques in problem solving. The McKinsey-Macy model, the 5 why technique to get to the root cause of a problem, root cause analysis, prioritization matrix, and so on and so forth. Then you learn Excel, Microsoft Excel. You see that chart I showed you, this one. It was built using Excel. I built it this morning before jumping into this session today. This was built using Excel. You'd learn how to use Excel to solve problems. You saw the problem we had, the case study we had. That's a problem organizations would have, hospitals would have, medical institutions, insurance, medical institutions would have. Your role would be to take those problems, identify them, break them into parts, know the right technology to use to solve that problem. Okay, so that's where it all starts from. So you learn Excel, you learn SQL, structured query language, which is a language for you to interact with databases. Data, especially within the medical space, has a lot of sensitivity to them. Okay, so the data would not be stored anywhere. It will be stored in a central location, which is called a database or a data warehouse. For you to extract that data and analyze the data, you must understand SQL. Then Power BI for your business intelligence, Power BI for your data visualization, and Tableau as well. Then data storytelling. So after you've done all the analysis back end, how do you communicate with the medical director who has no experience in Excel, who has no experience in Power BI? How do you communicate your findings to them in a way that is easy for them to understand? That's data storytelling. Then AI for analytics using ChatGPT. You use ChatGPT as a generative AI tool as a data analyst. And of course, you learn Microsoft Fabric for analytics. So these are the set of skills you need. If you don't have these, take a step back and ask yourself the question, I've been applying, but I've not been able to land a job. Perhaps it could be because I don't have the right skills to get that job. So you can take a screenshot of this. And of course, for roles within the health tech space, the salaries are absolutely phenomenal. In the UK, for example, an average of about £52,000 per annum. And of course, this is an average. It's usually higher than this. We've had people who got jobs, 70,000 pounds, over 70,000, 60 something thousand pounds, and so on and so forth. Okay. In Canada, $103,000 per annum. In the US, six figures as well, 110,000 US dollars per annum. Right now that we know the skills, we know that we should have domain knowledge, data analytics skills. We've seen the 8 skills we need to have. How do you learn these skills? And this is, I would say, the game changer. If you know how to learn, you've solved at least, give or take, 70% of the problem, because a lot of people learn the wrong way. And I'll show you how to learn these skills and position yourself as the best candidate. And remember, if you want to get any of the slides I'll be using today, all my materials, have access to the links of the videos, make sure you fill the attendance form. It's very important. Okay, so how do I learn this skill? You must learn in something we call a project-based environment. Now, when you want to become a medical doctor, you do your residency, you do a lot of practicals. What are the practicals you do in the university or the university teaching hospital, and when you also do your residency? What's the importance of that? It gives you insights into what the work would be when you eventually start working as a full-time medical doctor or as a nurse, depending on the career, the career path, you fall under. You must learn in a project-based environment. Learning in a project-based environment means learning by doing the real work. So it's like you wanting to know the human anatomy. As a medical doctor, you don't take a real human being and cut the person up. No, you take a cadaver and you use that to practice, or you take a model and you use that to practice. That's the exact same thing you must do if you want to land a job in health tech. You want to become a healthcare data analyst. You must do the work of a healthcare data analyst. So what we do at Analytics is real world projects from the NHS, because we have over 100 plus alumni working with the NHS, over 100 plus, working as information analyst, pathology data analyst, medical data analyst, business architects, and so on and so forth. We take their case study, because the NHS would give you a case study, a data set, and give you questions. These are the questions, these are the instructions. Go and solve this and come do a presentation. So we take those data sets and we convert them into case studies for you. Those are the problems that you solve. So for anybody who has landed a job in the health tech space, we take their case study, we convert them into case studies for you, and that's what you use to learn. We take real world data, we change the different features in the data set, so you cannot attribute any part of the data to an organization. You cannot tell if this data is coming from the NHS, if it's coming from an insurance, organization, or which insurance organization. You can't identify or trace data to anybody or any entity because of data privacy. So we take that real world data, we convert it into case study, and you work on those case studies. When you work and solve those problems, you must showcase your work, because nobody knows you. Nobody knows who you are. Nobody knows how good you are. Nobody knows what you have done, what you have accomplished, the type of problems you've solved. So you must show the world what you can do. And you do that by building a portfolio. So I saw somebody who said, "Oh, I don't have a portfolio. I don't know what to do to get a portfolio." You must have a portfolio. So practically, what does learning in a project-based environment mean? Let me break it down practically for you. So some of the projects you'd work on, for those of you who join us in our data analytics program to become healthcare data analysts, you'd work on healthcare related projects. This is a case study for St. Luke's Hospital. One of the projects you'd work on a case study for MedX Pharmacy in the pharmaceutical space. You'd work on a project for Heartbeats Emergency Room, using Tableau, okay, in the medical space, Green Hill Medical Center, and so many other projects. These are some of the projects you'd complete. Now, how do you complete these projects? And how do you build a portfolio? Remember, the best way to learn, number one, is learning a project-based environment where you are learning by doing the work itself. And number two is what? Showcase your work to the whole world. So let me take you to one of the classrooms and I'll walk you through exactly how you get to learn when you are learning the different technologies I listed out. So when you're learning Excel, for example, let's use this as a case study, okay? So this is a live class, all right? When you learn Excel, you don't learn Excel by watching videos. The mistake people make, learning Excel by doing what? Watching videos and trying to practice along. That is very wrong. Okay. So what you do in your live class, because you have live classes on Saturdays, you have a self-paced class where you log into the LMS. I'll show you that you can learn at your own convenience any day of the week, anytime, anywhere. But your live class is where you jump into a class with a professional and you solve projects in the healthcare space that gives you experience within that space. So for the person who asked the question the other time, oh, I don't have experience in healthcare. You don't need to have experience because you would work on projects like this. Okay, so let me show you what this looks like. So this is you learning Excel, but not by watching videos, by solving problems. Okay, so this is a case study for St. Luke's Hospital. And St. Luke's Hospital currently have problems rather within the organization. They have, let's look at some of the problems they have. Operational inefficiency due to unstructured data. So they have data in silos in different systems across the hospital. So one of your responsibilities would be to what? Bring all the data from the silos into a central location. You'll be building a database. All right. And of course, you'd help them identify visibility into patient trends, emergency room efficiency, and so on and so forth. Everybody in this class would have access to download the data. Once you click here, you'll be able to download what? The data set. Part of the data that we worked with today in today's session was gotten from this project. So the data is very large with about 5 different, tabs. But I took just, a simple extract to showcase. So you click here, you download the data, and together with a professional, you'd work in class to solve that problem. And let me show you what the recording looks like. So every class is recorded in case you missed the class. So you can always go back and watch what happened. All right. So this is you and your facilitator solving the problem, looking at the data set, the data description. You solve this problem using Excel, and together you'd work on the project one after the other. So you are in class, you have the opportunity to stop and say, hey, raise your hand. I have a question. I tried to do this. I didn't get it right. How do I do it? Oh, share your screen. Let me see what you have. And I correct you and tell you where you're getting it wrong. This is how you learn in class, not by watching video, but by doing the job. And if you miss this live class, the recording is here. This is the recording of the class that happened. So you can always come back, watch what happened, have a good idea of what played out in class on that day, and you don't miss out on anything. So that is one project. Just to show you another one very quickly, and then I'll show you how you get to build a portfolio. So let's go to another class. This particular one is in the pharmaceutical space, MedX Pharmacy. It's a case study you're going to work on this time around, not Excel, using Power BI. So you learn these tools by solving problems. You don't learn the tools by just watching videos. Now, when you complete all of this, and let's go to the class again. So let's see what happened in this class. So if I go to the class recording, say I missed this class, for example, I want to come back and watch what happened.
Of this session.
I come in here and I can see what happened. Amazing, amazing facilitator. Amaka Daniels is the facilitator for this particular class, walking you through how to build a data model and so on and so forth. Again, you have the opportunity to stop and ask questions. What am I doing wrong? What do I need to do right? And so on and so forth. This is the best way to learn. Project-based environment. All right. Now, when you've done this, you've worked on numerous projects. What's next for you? You must have a portfolio. So let's assume you've completed this case study for the emergency room analysis for St. Luke's Hospital. Because St. Luke's Hospital, most of what you do is analyzing emergency room records to optimize operations within the emergency room. What happens afterwards? You build a portfolio. So if I click on this, it takes you to one of the portfolios. This is Victoria's portfolio. Again, like I said earlier, once you work in a project-based environment and solve problems, nobody knows you've solved that problem. The only way they know is by having a warehouse where you store that project. The link to this portfolio would be on your CV and on your LinkedIn. So anybody can go there and see what you've done. So this is Victoria's portfolio, where she completed the analysis, the emergency room visit analysis, one of the projects she completed in class. And all she needs to do, any recruiter needs to do, any hiring manager considering Victoria would have access to Victoria's portfolio because the link to her portfolio is on her CV. Okay. So they would click on this to see what this project was all about. And it takes them to Victoria's portfolio. Emergency room visit dashboard. This was built using Tableau and it is interactive. So if I want to see data for Q4 or for Q2, I can click on this. It deselects everything. I click on Q3 and it shows me data for only Q3. Victoria had zero work experience. But today, Victoria could analyze data, emergency room data for a medical organization using Tableau to build a dashboard. This was exactly what Pavel did, who was a teacher, but got a job as a healthcare data analyst in Arizona in the US. This is what Ikmat, the stay-at-home mom, did to land that job with the NHS on sponsorship. This is what Sharon, the healthcare assistant, also did to help her transition from a healthcare assistant role to a business data analyst role. Because any recruiter can see the quality of the work that you've done, and they are confident that you can do the same work for them. So if I need to hire somebody that can use Tableau, I would have no doubt that Victoria can use Tableau because she has built this amazing Tableau dashboard. All right. So remember, the best way to learn project-based environment, you work on projects within the sector you want to land a job. So you know the different conversations to have, the terms and terminologies, and so on and so forth. And again, for the pharmaceutical space, another portfolio. This is a portfolio for another professional, and you'd see the project within Novamed Pharmaceutical. Okay, so if you click on this, it takes you to this particular portfolio. You'd see the project this amazing participants completed, Novamed, one of the capstone projects in Power BI, and you can walk through exactly what they've done. You read what the metrics and the insights was, and so on and so forth. This is evidence that you can do the job. Very important. Okay. Now, if you know the best way to learn when transitioning, type in a yes into the chat. For the classes missed, how can you ask questions? I would answer that in the next few seconds. So me. If you now know the best way to learn, project-based environment, work on projects, build a portfolio to warehouse all those projects so that anybody can go there and they can see what you've done. Okay, so type in a yes if you understand that, and then we move on. I'll show you how to gain work experience and I'll show you how to get started. It's a method that works and works like magic. It's proven, and that's what has gotten numerous participants jobs. Brilliant. Now let's move on. Okay, so now that you know what it takes, how you must learn, you've learned the skills. And apart from learning in class with a professional, like I mentioned, you also have access to an LMS, a learning management system. So if you go to the Tenalytics website for the people who would register eventually, you'd log into your dashboard. Okay, so I'm just going to log in very quickly and I'll show you what it looks like. So you log into your dashboard. When you log into your dashboard, any day, anytime, anywhere, you can access your classes. Okay, so let me show you what this looks like. So you're in data analytics, you click on continue learning on a Sunday, on a Monday, on a Tuesday, on a Friday, any day of the week, you can come here to learn. You want to learn Excel, you want to learn Excel functions, or you want to learn, let's say, lookup functions. You click on lookup functions, you watch a professional, Ifemena. Ifemena is the co-founder of Tenalytics. Ifemena has worked in Ireland, he's worked in the UK, he's worked with a medical technology company, TISA, as a data analyst, business developer. He's the one that will teach you Excel. So you're learning from the best. And this is where you learn in a self-paced environment. And apart from the self-paced, you have the live class. The live class every Saturday. If you're in the UK, 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. If you're in the US, it's 12 p.m. to 3 p.m. If you're in Canada, it's 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. On Saturdays, you work with a real professional, a real person, a real human being that has done that job and can walk you through. All right. Now, somebody asked a very brilliant question, which is if I missed a class, what happens? So if you miss a class, you can always go back and watch your class recording in your classroom. If you have a question, you can always send a message in a group. So everybody joins a WhatsApp group. You have your facilitator, your trainer, your class coordinator. They're all in that group. So when you have a question, you drop the question there. Somebody would answer that question. Now, let's assume you have more questions or you want a more tailored one-on-one approach. We have something called the drop-in session. I'm going to show you what that looks like. It's called the drop-in session. So the drop-in session can happen any day of the week from Monday to Friday. So this is where I missed a class, or even if I didn't miss a class, I want to I didn't understand something that was done, or I'm practicing on my own. I have a question, but I want to sit with somebody one on one to have that conversation. What do? I come to my classroom, I go to book a drop in session. I click on that and I click on this Calendly, and I'll see when I can book sessions. For example, Monday, the 26th, 27th, 28th, 29th, and 30th. Every single week, Mondays to Friday, you can book a session with an amazing professional who would work with you, help you address the challenges you have, and you get into the next class with zero concerns and zero problems. And the reason why we've done this is simple. You've worked as a nurse. For the person who says, I don't have any experience, we know you don't have the experience. And that's why we've put in measures to ensure that you are never lost, you are never confused, and you have all the support that you need. So for the person who asked the question, I think that was Soma. I hope I answered your question. Okay. Felix, I'm going to answer that question as we move on as well. Now, let's continue. How do you then gain work experience? Now that you know how to learn the skills, you've learned the skills the right way, project-based environment, you now have a portfolio. How do you gain work experience? You gain work experience in two ways. I've shown you one, which is the project-based learning, the projects you work on in class. becomes part of your work experience because you put them into your portfolio. This is what I've done in the health tech space. This is the type of medical data I've analyzed, the types of medical related problems I've solved for organizations. And you also have 2 months internship. Your internship is where you get to work with other professionals. Because when you work as a healthcare data analyst, you don't work alone. You work with other professionals, with a data engineer, with a data scientist, with a business analyst. You collaborate to solve problems. So Amdari is where you get to work during your internship, collaborating with other professionals to solve the same problems within an organization. So apart from solving technical problems, you'd also get to learn collaborative skills, teamwork. You'd learn interpersonal skills because you'd have to deal with other people, other professionals, because that's how you work in the real world. Amdari is registered in Alberta, Canada, and also operates out of London in the UK. And what's the advantage of this for you? It means that on your CV, you can indicate that you are a healthcare data analyst with Amdari in the UK, in Canada, working remotely, and so on and so forth. When you do this, what does it do for you? It gives the employer the idea that for you to land this job working in this capacity, it means you can also do the job for me. And that's where positioning comes in landing the job. So for the person who has the question with Amdari, Amdari is where you go to gain work experience through, pardon my handwriting, through what? Internship. So you learn your skills, you join classes, you work on projects, you learn skills with us at Tenalytics. And Amdari is a sister company to Tenalytics. And that's where you get to work on problems, projects with other professionals collaborating to solve that similar problem. All right. And when you do all of this, you must build a portfolio. So the portfolios, some of the portfolios I showed you, if you click on this link for example, it takes you to the portfolio and you get to see what this amazing professional has done. If I click on this, for example, it takes me to Adiola's portfolio. Okay. So I can scroll, see what Adiola has done. I can see some of the medical related projects she has solved. Riverside General Hospital data model using what? SQL. This is evidence that Adiola can do the job. Everybody must have a portfolio. This is how you build work experience. This is how a teacher can get a job as a healthcare data analyst. This is how an operations manager can get a job as a pathology data analyst. Let me share the gentleman with you. His name is Mawutin. Mawutin was an operations manager back in Nigeria. He moved to the UK. He wanted to get a job. He got a job as a support worker, as a care worker. But he joined our data analytics program and landed a job with the NHS as a pathology data analyst. This was the job description in landing that job. Okay, so you'd see the division of pathology with the Southeast Hospital in the NHS. It's a data analyst role, directorate of pathology, and so on and so forth. An operations manager getting a job as a pathology data analyst. The only way that is possible is the way I explained to you. Project-based learning, you take those projects, add them to your portfolio, and that's evidence that you can do the job. So I'm going to take you to Mawutin's profile very quickly, and then I'll show you, summarize everything we've said so far and what it takes. What does it take for you to start? So let's see Mawutin's profile. Mawutin currently still works with the NHS. Fantastic professional. So that's Mawutin. Again, one of the things you'd see is you both worked at Tenalytics. Very important. because that's what shows employers that you can do the job because you're currently on that job. So currently works with the Southeast Hospital NHS Foundation Trust. He's worked as a support worker. But again, if you look at his job with analytics, data analyst consultant. So before he got this job with the NHS, he could show to recruiters that he was on that job. He had done that job for a reputable organization, and they were confident that if he had done that, he could do the same job for them. And that's Mautin's story. All right. So there are so many other stories, success stories as we move on. But now you know how to gain work experience. Now you know the best way to learn. Don't forget, you would also need a reference. So for so many organizations, including the NHS, they would ask for a reference. So this is what a reference looks like. So this was a PDF document. It came in through the mail. Hello, Adeza Suleiman. This is from the Southeast Hospital NHS Foundation Trust. Hi, Adeza Suleiman. This candidate is being considered for a pathology data analyst role. You have been listed. He has given the permission to approach you for a reference. I'd be grateful if you could let me have your opinion regarding his suitability for the post by completing the attached reference form. So the reference is very important. Every organization wants to know that you can do the job for them. Where have you done it before? Oh, you've done it with analytics. Can we approach them to find out if you can actually do the job? The organizations would reach out to find out, and we provide you with a reference. Without a reference, you can't keep that job. Very important for you to note. A lot of people ignore this, okay? But they get to realize when it's too late. Very important, okay? So this is a reference. We got you when it comes to references. We complete that for you. We vouch for you because you've learned those skills. You've worked on the project. You have the experience, the same tools and technologies that you completed while solving those problems in class and your internship are the same tools and technologies you would use when you get that job. So everything I've said so far can be summarized into three broad categories. Number one is to learn. And the best place you want to go is data analytics. Add data analytics to the skills you have. Focus on that, work on the project, do all the things I've said. And more importantly, you cannot stop there. A lot of people stop at the learning stage or the learning phase. You must move into packaging. I've touched on a bit of packaging so far, gaining work experience to show you are the best candidate for the job. Packaging is presenting how you present yourself, how you position yourself as the best candidate for that job. Your CV revamp. We revamp your CV for you, optimize your LinkedIn profile. Okay. You must create a portfolio. Everybody creates a portfolio. So if you go to your classroom, all you need to do, let me show you very quickly. If you go to your classroom, all you need to do is, if you go to your introduction, you'd see where you have build a portfolio. Only 4 videos you need to watch right here in your LMS. The portfolio checklist, you write all the things you need to do, edit the templates, and upload your portfolio. Simple and straight to the point. Everybody must have a portfolio. Again, when you go to your classroom, you also have where you upload your CV. You upload your CV, we tailor that CV, represent your CV in the best way possible with all the keywords to go past the ATS. All right. And we show you how to tailor your CV to the other jobs you'll be applying to. Okay. And of course, you have somebody asked the other time, do you have a mentorship session? Absolutely. We have numerous mentorship sessions where you get to complete your LinkedIn optimization. We had a session just before we wrapped up 2025 on the global talent process for those who want to get the global talent visa as a global promise or a global talent. We brought professionals who had gotten this. We brought them right here and they would walk you through. They walked, people through what they needed to do, the different things they need to consider when applying. And a lot of people went ahead to do this. And the beauty about this is we provide you with a recommendation because that's one of the 10 pieces of evidence that you need when applying for the global talent. So your LinkedIn optimization, a day in the life of a data analyst, how to negotiate. These are sessions where myself, the co-founder, we bring in other professionals to work with you. And when you have an interview, all you have to do is go to your LMS, go to your dashboard, and at the top right corner, you'd see where you have interview prep. You don't need to speak to anybody. You don't need to call anybody. You don't need to send any emails. Just come in here, click on schedule mock interview, fill all the details, the interview stage. Is it first level or second level or HR screening, first round interview? Select the dates your interview would hold. Say your interview is on Wednesday, for example. Somebody would join a call before that Wednesday to prepare you for that interview. You copy and paste the link to the job you've applied to, the job description. And lastly, you upload the CV that you used to apply to that job. So just like Ikmat said in our previous video where she said somebody prepped her, Mr. Mohammed prepped her for our interview. And it was like he saw into the future all the questions that will be asked. These are the information we collect from you to make sure that when we join that call one-on-one with you, we know the questions, we can preempt the questions they're going to ask you, and we prepare you based on that. And when you have a reference, we provide a reference for you, like I mentioned earlier. All right. So that's where packaging comes in. Packaging, I dare say, is even more important than the technical skills because packaging is where you shine, you stand out from the competition. All right. And finally, where to apply, how to apply to jobs, and so on. So from we tailoring your CV for you to an industry standard CV, showing you how to do it subsequently when applying, tapping into the hidden and the paid job market. For example, we scrape jobs from the major job boards. We send those jobs to you so you can go ahead and apply. And I'll show you what that looks like. So if you go to your important materials, under job offers, we scrape jobs from job boards, UK visa jobs, job platforms that you don't have access to because you have to pay. So we have access because we have paid. We scrape those jobs, we vet those jobs, and we send them to you to apply. These are platforms your counterparts don't have access to. I'll show you one of them. Okay, for the UK, for example, we use the UK visa jobs. In the US, we use JobRite and so on and so forth. And I'll show you what that looks like. So we script that, we provide this in your classroom. So you can always come here, you see the jobs we've added, and you can always go ahead and apply to those jobs. Every Sundays, we post jobs right here for you. You see the jobs that come with sponsorship. You see the ones that don't come with sponsorship, and you can go ahead and apply. This is what gives our participants an edge in landing interviews a lot faster than their counterparts. Okay, so just to give you an idea of what this looks like. And when you combine all of these, all of the things I've said so far, that is what helps you land the job. Your learning is for 6 months, 2 months internship. It's an 8-month learning journey. So this is not transition in 2 weeks, transition in 1 week, become a healthcare data analyst in 3 weeks. No, it's an immersive, comprehensive program that gets you the job and you know how to do the job when you get that job. But one thing we've also seen, if you listen to Ikmat, she got a job about 3 months into the program. And that's because we don't wait for you to complete everything before you start applying. When you get to the 3 months mark or 4 months, when you get to 3 to 4 months, we start pushing you to apply to jobs because at this stage, you would have completed problem solving. Okay. You'd have completed Microsoft Excel. You'd have completed SQL and you'd have gotten into Power BI. So you don't need to wait until you complete Tableau, you complete data storytelling, you complete everything before you start applying to jobs. We start pushing you to apply when you've done 1 to 3 or 1 to 4. And that's why you'd see a lot of people saying, oh, I got a job 3 months into the program. I'm still in the program and I've already gotten a job. We push you to do that. We give you the confidence to go ahead and apply, and we prepare you for those interviews and you land those jobs. So for those in the UK, your classes run from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. on Saturdays. Every other day, you're on the LMS, self-study, you learn at your convenience. If you're in the US, Canada, 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. Mountain Time. If you're in Alberta, Mountain Time Zone. If you're in the US, that's 12 to 3 p.m. on Saturdays. Okay. You have your mentorship sessions in the evenings during the week on Thursdays, 10 p.m. UK time. Thursdays in the US, 8 p.m. Mountain Time, 10 p.m. Eastern Time for those in the US. Again, everything in case you miss a class is recorded, so you don't miss anything at the end of the day. So you'd see where you have your mentorship sessions. If I go to this session, for example, I think this was the session I held, the last session I held. If I go here, I click on that, I'll see everything that was done this session. If you have your, so that's me right there, walking you through what to do going into the new year 2026, practical sessions. And this is what your mentorship sessions look like. Between 1 hour, 1.5 hours, you have an amazing time knowing exactly how to start to prepare, how to set your goals. That was pretty much what we discussed before the end of 2025, the last mentorship session for 2025. And the beauty is you have lifetime access. So any day, even when you are done, even after you've gotten a job, you have access to this platform. You also have access to your dashboard. So you can come back for reference. You can come back in the future to book an interview. We had somebody who joined us in 2022. She landed a job in the UK. She landed a job in the US as a I beg your pardon, as a HR data analyst. Now she moved into a new role as a people analyst in January 2025. So in 2022, when she got that job, we prepared her for her interview. She got the job. She came back 3 years after to book an interview. And that's the beauty of being on the platform. So we prepared her for that interview and she got the job. All right. So you have lifetime access, all the resources that you need to thrive. And of course, just some more quick stories. This is Toyin. Toyin was a pharmacist back in Nigeria. Toyin moved to the UK, wanted jobs in the UK, wanted sponsorship. She got a job as a pharmacy data analyst. Okay, today Toyin is a pharmacy data analyst. I wish I could play Toyin's video, but we don't have enough time anymore. This is Gad. Gad was a mechanical engineer. So for people asking, how can I get a job in healthcare, even though I don't have experience? Gad was a mechanical engineer. He moved to the UK for his master's. Today, Gad works with the NHS as a data warehouse and ETL developer. He got that job last year, January 2025. Works with the NHS, full visa sponsorship, and so on. God also recorded a video about his journey and how he was able to do that and how we helped in doing that. This is Judith. Judith was a carer. Judith had a friend whose daughter goes to her daughter's school. So Judith went to school that day to drop her daughter. And her friend, Tolulokpe, told Judith that, oh, I just got a job as a data analyst. And Judith said, oh, how did you do it? You're a carer, I'm a carer. How did you get a job as a data analyst? Then Judith's friend referred Judith to Tenalytics. Judith joined us. Okay. And in March 2024, she completed her program. And 3 months after, Judith got a job as a business analyst in the US. She lives in the UK, but works remotely for a company in the US. More pay. The US companies pay a lot more than companies in the UK. So she works remotely from Huddersfield in the UK, works for the company in the US, from a carer to a business analyst. You have Evelyn, a nurse for over 15 years. She's a data engineer as we speak. Dr. Arome, medical doctor with over a decade experience, currently a data analyst. And we talked about Tony already. Tony is a pharmacy data analyst. We talked about Mawutin. I shared his experience already. I'm not going to double down on that. You have Abigail. Abigail was a care worker. Abigail, back in Nigeria, worked in the FIRS as an administrative executive. She moved into Canada to Saskatchewan, worked as a care worker, but she wanted more. She followed the same process I've shared with you. Learn, package, apply, and Abigail landed a job with the government of Alberta as a supervisor of business services and data analytics. Okay. And I'm going to wrap up the success stories with Ramat. And I'll play Ramat's video because I want you to listen to Ramat. Ramat was in customer service. She had no experience in healthcare. She worked in customer service. She joined our program, followed the same process I've walked you through. Today, Ramat is a business architect with the NHS. And I want you to listen to Ramat very quickly. And then I'll come share with you what it takes to join the next cohort that starts on the 7th of February. So you can start in February, start early, and work your way in the next couple of months to being on our slide as somebody who had no experience, came into the program and was able to land the job. So, but let's listen to Ramat very quickly. I'm going to play Ramat's video. Fantastic professional. If you've not listened to any of the videos, listen to Ramat's video. It was an interview, a full 1 hour interview, but I'm going to play just a few minutes, about 4 minutes of the interview, where Ramat spoke about what helped her to transition from customer service into a business architect with the NHS in the UK. So let's listen and enjoy Ramat's story.
And no, I came in as a dependent to my husband. He was a student, so I was dependent at the time.
How was your journey? How did it start? I hear that coming in as a dependent is not that easy. Having to find a job. What kind of jobs did you even start with?
Well, to be fair, it was quite good for me because I didn't have to do care, but I know so many people that had to do care, warehouse, and all of that. But I started as a customer service rep for British Gas. So British Gas is like an energy providing company that's based in the UK. So suppliers of energies and gas. So I was working with them as their customer service rep, answering calls, queries, about the product and services they offer. So that was what I did for about a year when I got here until my breakthrough with analytics.
I'm very interested in that breakthrough. Tell me about that breakthrough. How did it start? How did you hear of them? And what gave you the conviction to try them out? What is your experience like?
Okay, let me start from how I heard about them. So I was talking to my cousin. My cousin is in the UK as well. She did data analytics with analytics. So I was telling her because I was on mat leave at the time and I didn't just want my mat leave to just go like that, being that I wasn't even really interested in the customer service role. I wanted to be more. So I talked to her and said I was looking at doing something like into around business analytics. That if she know anybody, any edu company just like analytics that I can enroll with and all of that. And she said, oh, that's really good because she just finished a data analytics course with analytics and all of that, that I would really enjoy them. She mentioned Adiza. She mentioned a few people from analytics that really helped her during her own time. I was like, is it really good? She was like, it's really, really good. And then she said there used to be a master class that I can attend that and just hear from them first before I fully enroll with them and all of that. I'm like, okay, yeah. That's fine. She sent me the link to the master class, and then that was it for me. Like I didn't even have to think twice. Immediately I did the master class, I enrolled immediately because I knew this was what I wanted. They were just spilling Adiza was the one, I remember. It was the one that held the master class with one other person, and it was telling us all the benefits, all the things that we will learn in the space of about 3 months, how it will be practical enough to carry that knowledge into our job. Like when we eventually land the job, that's enough experience. And to be honest, it was practical enough because that was all that helped me. So that was how I began my journey with analytics. I enrolled with them and started around it was around April, if I can remember
Yeah.
correctly, April 2023.
Okay,
Yeah.
maybe to pin the link.
That was when I started with analytics. And it was supposed to be 3 months, 3 months, 1 month for the theoretical aspect, and then I think 2 months for the practical. You have like a group where you practicalize all the things that you've been taught. They give you a project, they assign a project to your group, and then you partake, you do all the things that you would actually do on the job, you do it with them. So that took about 2 months or so. But I tell you for a fact, I'd started immediately after my first month with them. I already knew what I wanted. So I started enrolling for jobs and all of that. I'd not even finished my practicals before I got a job as a business analyst in one of the trusts in NHS. And that's where I still work currently. So it was that good. It was that good. All the things they taught us, all the practicals that I started to learn like bit by bit, because I already mentioned that I haven't even finished. So that was what I
Yeah.
put into CV, into my supporting statements. And the good thing, what even crowned it up for me was when I got the interview, I told Adiza about it, and then there was a proper prep, like interview prep that I did that just prepped me comprehensively for the job. It was one of the facilitators in charge then that just prepped me, and then that was it. I got in there and smashed it, and I got the job.
So that's Ramat, and that's Ramat's story. She currently works with one of the NHS trusts. Absolutely phenomenal professional. And if you listen to Ramat carefully, from working on practicals, all the things I've shared with you so far, projects, learning in a project-based environment, knowing how to do the job before you even get the job. And finally, the interview prep she talked about at the end, proper interview prep that helped her prepare for that interview. And if you listen, to use her own words, she went in there and she smashed it. Okay. So you can't stay where you are. You can't hear all the things you've heard today and remain where you are in 2026. You have to make a change. And that's my charge to you. You have to make a change. All the professionals I've shared with you so far, from Ramat, who was in customer service, no experience. Ikmat, who was a stay-at-home mom, no experience. To Sharon, to numerous other professionals. They had no idea, no clue. They didn't know how to use those tools and technologies. But today, they are working and even coming to mentor other people. Ramat is also a mentor that we bring in because it's easy for you to relate to people that have done what you're trying to achieve. So in some of the mentorship sessions, we call it the body mentorship sessions. We bring them in. You have the opportunity to ask questions. When you have interviews, we also bring them. They work with you. They share ideas on your supporting statement, share ideas on how you can approach the application process and so on and so forth because they've done it ahead of you. All right. The next cohort starts on the 7th of February. The earlier you start, the better for you. So in the next couple of months, you can be one of the people who would have landed jobs and share a story just like these amazing professionals have shared. Now, the beauty about joining this February is you have an amazing discount. We still have and we have a discount where you can lock in 20% off the original amount. So to get started in our data analytics program, where you get to work on the amazing projects in the healthcare space and prep you to land a job in the health tech ecosystem, you get to pay $1,250. But we have a discount of 20% where you get to pay just $1,000. and you don't have to make this payment at once. You can make the payments in up to 5 installments. Okay, 5 installments of $200 per month. And we even have an easier way for you to get in. So instead of paying 200, 200, 200 to get started in February, on the 7th of February, all you need is $150 to get started. And you spread the remaining costs for the next 4 months. Okay, so I'm going to walk you through how to get started and show you how to get to make payments. We take questions and then we call it a day. I'm going to go through the chat and see the questions you've been sending. And then for those of you who want to unmute yourself to ask questions, I'll be very happy to engage you to answer all the questions that you have. So the barcode, if you scan this barcode, it takes you to how you can go ahead to make payments, enroll into the data analytics program. If you click on this link, you can also do that. My colleague on the call as well, Elijah, would also share the link for you to make payments. The cohort starts on the 7th of February. You don't want to miss this discount. What usually happens, and the discount is not even available for everyone, it's available for only the first 20 people. I almost forgot to mention that. The first 20 people to register get access to the discounts. Okay, so how do you take advantage? And what we've seen usually is within the next, by Monday, Tuesday, the discounted slots are gone. Okay, so usually people pay Saturday, Sunday. For those that couldn't pay Saturday, Sunday, they get to pay on Monday, they get to pay on Tuesday. So don't miss out. Because what we've seen is people coming back to us to say, Adeza, I was in your session, I missed the discounts. Can you still make the discount available to me? But at that point, it's already too late. All right. So how do you get started? If you click on this link, it takes you into where you get to register. And I'm going to walk you through that very quickly. Okay. I'll walk you through how to register very quickly. Okay. So when you click on that link, it brings you into where you can go ahead and make payments. Okay. So this is what is going to come up. I'll just use a different browser so that you see exactly the same thing I'll be showing you on this call today. Okay. Okay, I think I'll just have to click on this demo.analytics. All right, so it's going to bring you here. You'd see all the courses. And from all the courses, you can select the one we've talked about today, data analytics. That's where you want to be. Don't bother yourself thinking about other areas. This is what works. Okay, take it to the bank. You've listened to all the amazing professionals. You click on that, and it takes you to the program. You can read about the curriculum, the course instructors, the job opportunities, and so on and so forth. You click on enroll now, and this is where you get to create an account. Okay, so you enter your first and your last name. You enter an email address. So I'm just going to enter an email address to show you exactly what you need to do. Okay, so you enter an email address, create an account, enter your phone number, and then you can go ahead and access the discounts. So I'll enter an email right here, enter a phone number, agree to the terms and conditions, read that as well, click on create an account, and this creates a new account for you. All right. So the next cohort in February, and the beauty about this is you can take advantage of this 20% discount and start in March. Let's take, for example, your February is a little bit busy and you want to defer to start in March. You can do that, and the discount still applies to you. Okay, so if you want to start in March, you can select that, or you want to start in February, you select that. All right. You can choose the currency. If you're paying in dollars, instead of paying $1,250, you can pay in 5 you get a discount just to pay $1,000 first of all, 20% off, and you can also make payments in up to 5 monthly installments. So 5 monthly installments for $1,000 is 200, 200, 200, 200, 200. However, you can start your first payment at $150 and you spread the remaining 212. Okay, I think somebody's unmuted. I'm just going to mute everyone so we don't have distractions. Okay. All right, beautiful. So you can select 5 monthly payments. You get in at $150, spread the remaining balance over the next 4 months. If you're paying in pounds, the same thing. All it takes for you to start is 114 pounds or 115 roughly. Okay, that's all it takes for you to get started, to get into a program that transforms your career in 2026. All right. So let's say I want to pay in pounds. I've selected pounds or I've selected Canadian dollars, euros. You can select your currency. You can pay in Naira as well. You select Naira, you'd see the amount and you can get started as well. Okay. So let's select pounds. 5 monthly payments. I want to start in February. The earlier, the better. I click on apply discount and this applies my discount for me. Now, today is 24th of February. So you see all your details. If you made a mistake with your phone number, you can always change it right here. Okay. So you see your payments. Your first payment today would be 114 pounds. Then subsequent payments, 162, 162, and so on. Now, if my salary, my next payment date would be in February because I'm paying today on the 24th of January. If salary doesn't come until, let's say, 28th or 25, 25th or 26th, I can change the date right here. So I can click on edit. My next payment, I want it to come in. I want to make my next payment on the 27th or on the 26th. I can choose that right here and click on save. So rather than paying on the 24th, I can pay on the 27th. And the subsequent months would also adjust. So I can adjust my next payment to suit when I'll be getting money. So it's easy and flexible for me to start. Okay, so I select all of that. I click on I confirm information. I've read the terms and conditions and click on pay now. So pay now takes you to where you confirm all the details. You see the amount you're paying today. You enter your card details. Okay. So I'll just show you how this works and how you get access to the platform. So you enter your card details, your full name, postcode, all of that. Enter that right there. Click on pay. And when you click on pay, you would see where you've made your first installment. And this is what gets you into the class on the 7th of February. Okay. So payment successful. Go to dashboard. I'll be required to confirm my email. So you get an OTP in your email. Verify your email. Go to your email. If you don't find it in your inbox, go to spam. Okay. Go to your junk folder. Enter your OTP. Verify the email. And once you've done this, you'll be required to just fill in a few more details. Your country of residence. Here I can enter United Kingdom or Canada or the United States, wherever you are, just type that in. Let's select United Kingdom. Okay. Gender, male. Indicate your preferred time. So if I'm in the UK, for example, I want to choose 11 a.m. BST. Okay. Because that's the time that favors me. But then again, if you're in the UK, you're not available in the morning, 11 a.m. You can join the class for those in the US and Canada, which would be 6 p.m. your time in the UK. So you have a flexible approach, a flexible timing to join. All right. So the classes for those in the US, Canada would happen evening your time. So if you're not available in the morning, which is the class scheduled for those of you in the UK, you can join class for those in the US, Canada, the same curriculum, same facilitator. You just have that flexibility attached to make it easy for you. How did you find out about us? Select that. I heard about you on LinkedIn, or I saw Adeza's video on Instagram. You select where you found us. Okay. So I saw Adeza's video on Instagram. So Adeza Suleiman. Update your email preference. So you have a personal email, okay? Your Gmail, for example, you enter that right here. Why did you register We want to know why. Okay. So maybe I was impressed with the structure of the platform, or the testimonials were fantastic or something. And how much time can you commit per week? We always advise for you to commit at least 1 hour per day. Okay, you try to commit 1 hour per day. So when you are done with class on Saturday, it doesn't mean you close your laptop, shut everything down until the next Saturday. We advise you to still go ahead, practice, watch your videos, and so on. So we advise you select about 4 to 6 hours per week, or 7 to 10 hours per week. Okay, so let's say I select 7 to 10, for example, complete setup. Once you are done with this, it takes you to your dashboard. So you have access to your dashboard. You have some, checklists to complete your onboarding videos. If I click on complete checklist, I'd complete my onboarding video, um, the class etiquette and communications. I would install and download and install all the tools, your PostgreSQL, your Power BI, your Excel. You have that available. Download and install ahead of the class starting on the 7th of February. When you're done with all of this, you complete your onboarding and you start having access into your classroom. Okay, so that's what getting started looks like for us at Tenalytics, and for you who would be registering for the data analytics program. Okay, we have an accreditation from the American Council of Training and Development, okay, from the US. If you click on this link, it takes you to the accreditation page. And this is just a testament to the amazing work that we are doing. The American Council of Training and Development, Tenalytics, is a professional training institution registered in Canada, and so on and so forth. All right. So I'm going to take a breather right here, and I'm going to take questions from you. And of course, we got into so many programs. One of them is the Alberta Catalyzer program in Canada, where that's me right there. If you look closely, you'd see me with other amazing startup founders. That's me. That's the co-founder, Ifemena. That's the both of us right there. It's a government initiative by the government of Alberta. We got into this program to help, deliver exceptional value to our customers in North America. And of course, for those in the UK as well. So the same thing, if you click on this link, it takes you to the article where the Alberta Catalyzer page, meet the startups in Northern Alberta. So that's me right there. That's Ifemena and other startup founders. And you can read about the amazing stuff that we are doing at Tenalytics. Okay. So I'm going to take a breather and I'll take questions from any one of you that have questions for me before we call it a day today. So I'd come to the chat first of all, and then I'll come back. If you have a question, you want to unmute yourself, I'd give you the opportunity to do that. Is Toyin a pharmacist? She was a pharmacist. Let me take you to Toyin's profile very quickly. Somebody's asking the question, is Toyin a pharmacist? She was a pharmacist back in Nigeria before she moved to the UK. But Toyin today is a pharmacy data analyst. So because she now has data analytics skills, do you know what happened? The same thing I've explained to you. Healthcare domain knowledge plus data analytics. So she joined our data analytics program. She got her first job with the NHS as a benefits analyst, and she grew within the NHS. And today she's a pharmacy data analyst. Okay, so if you go to her profile, you'd see that benefit analyst. This was what got her into the NHS after moving to the UK. And today she's a pharmacy data analyst, taking her pharmacy background, domain experience, and data analytics. And that gave her the opportunity to get that job. All right. Same strategy I mentioned. I'll probably play Toyin's video. You get to hear from Toyin yourself, and you hear how she was able to get that job. Okay, somebody's asking, can one work here in the UK and also work remotely in the US and Canada? Absolutely. I did it myself when I was in the UK. When I was studying in the UK myself, I worked for an organization in the US, and what I was able to do was I was able to circumvent my 20-hour limitation for a master's student that you'd usually have. So I worked for companies in the US. I worked for companies in the US back when I was in Nigeria, and I also did the same when I was in Bradford and Manchester in the UK. Tolu is asking, I'm sorry I got disconnected. I don't know if someone else asked. I don't know how the projects work, but are we given topics to work on? So you work on projects together with your facilitator. Okay, so you're not left alone to go and figure things out. Yes, you have capstone projects that you'd work on by yourself. Those capstone projects you work on your own. You have assignments, you have tasks you'd complete, but those projects you add to your portfolio, you work on them together with your facilitator. So you have the opportunity to ask questions, you understand the rationale and the process, the framework to deploy in answering those questions and how to approach those type of problems. Okay. And then you have assignments, you have tasks you'd complete. You'd come up to make presentations when you complete your task and so on and so forth. And that's what accumulates into you understanding how to do the job. Okay. Maya, okay. Do you have jobs in New Zealand? Washe, you might be one of the first people to come in and get a job in New Zealand. Okay. So I want to challenge you, Washe. Be the first person to get a job in New Zealand. I'll show you a gentleman who joined us from Egypt. He was in Egypt and he joined. He joined a session like this and he was asking the question, oh, Adeza, do you have anybody who has gotten a job in Egypt? I challenged him and I told him that join, get a job in Egypt, and we're going to use your success story as a case study. Let me show you the gentleman who got a job with IBM in Egypt as a data engineer. Okay. So if you come to our YouTube page, we have numerous success stories. I showed you a few. There are numerous success stories right here. So you see this gentleman right here, Ahmed. He's an Egyptian.
Hello, everyone.
Okay, he's an Egyptian. He joined us from Egypt. He was also asking questions. Oh, do you have anybody who has joined from Egypt? And I challenged him, join and be the first person to get a job. He got a job as a data engineer with IBM. Same with Vanessa. Vanessa is in France. Vanessa joined our data science program. Today, she landed a job with a company in France. Vanessa's story is so interesting that she did not apply to that job. Immediately, she completed her LinkedIn optimization after working with her on her LinkedIn optimization. That organization reached out to her. She thought it was a scam. We advised her to go ahead and respond. An interview was set up. She had a first level, second level, and today she currently works with that company as a data analyst. And there are so many other success stories. All right. So Washe, once again, I challenge you to be one of the first persons that gets a job in New Zealand. Do you work with US companies? What do you mean by do we work with US companies? Omaruye, do you want to explain? Do you mean have people gotten jobs with companies in the US? If that's your question, yes, absolutely. Do we work with US companies in the sense that do we get projects and data from them to create case studies out of during your internship with Amdari? Yes, we do. Okay, I don't know if that's the question you're asking. Can we make payments in Naira? Absolutely. So when you go to the payment page, you can select US dollars, Canadian dollars, euros, pounds, and Naira as well. Okay. Let me see more questions. I've been in the financial domain for more than 2 decades. Can I get a HDA job without, you don't need a clinical license to get all the things I've said so far. Ayo, did you hear me say anything about clinical license? You don't need a clinical license because you are not a medical doctor, you are not a nurse, you are not a bedside carer, and so on and so forth. Your role is to do what? Take data, analyze the data, and help the organizations make sense and take decisions based on the insights and the information you get from that data set. You don't need a medical license to do that. I hope that answers your question. And your fair Jesu is asking, when is the deadline to make the first deposit? As soon as you can, and your fair Jesu. Okay. Again, it's for the first 20 people because we're going to cut off registration a week before the program starts. But the discounts gets cut off once the first 20 people take advantage of the discount. So you don't want to miss out on that. How many hours are classes a day? Somi is asking. So your classes 3 hours on Saturdays. Saturdays alone. You don't have live classes any other day. So Saturdays, and if you miss that class on Saturday, say you are in the UK or you are in a time zone similar to the UK time zone, maybe you are in Nigeria, you are in Europe, similar time zone, plus, or minus 1 hour, depending on the season at that time. Currently, I think the UK, Nigeria is 1 hour ahead of the UK at the moment. So give or take, you are still within the same time zone. So if you're in the UK, you miss a class, you can join the classes for those in the US or Canada, which will be evening your time. And if you miss that, you have the recording to your class. You can always go to your classroom. Okay, go to your classroom. You have the recording to every single class that happens. SQL Live Class 2, there's a class recording. If you have questions, you need a one-on-one support, more like it's a catch-up session in case you missed a class, but you need somebody to bring you up to speed. All you need to do is go to where you have book a drop-in session. You click on that, select the day you'll be available. So maybe you missed the class on a Saturday, this Saturday, 24th, but you're available on a Monday. Book a drop-in session on Monday. An amazing professional will join you, walk you through what was done on that day, where are you having issues, and address those issues for you. Okay? So what else? Let me see more questions. Does Power BI work on MacBook? Yes, it does, Felix. However, you need to install a virtual machine. So there is no dedicated Power BI version for Mac. But if you want to use, you can use Power BI on your Mac, either by using it through Microsoft Fabric or by installing a virtual machine. But we show you how to do that. It's part of your installation process in your classroom. So if you go to your classroom, part of your installation process is installing, with Power BI, installing Power BI with Mac. Okay, so tools and software installation, you see that right there, how to install Power BI. You'd see how to install Power BI in Windows, how to install Power BI on Mac as well. Okay, but if you have a Windows PC, it's usually more straightforward for you. Okay. Mobology, I own a Chrome HP laptop. Can that work? I believe it should work as long as you can get these tools and technologies on them. So research, I'm not very familiar with the Chrome laptop. So just can you install Excel, Power BI, SQL? Just find out. If you can, then you are good to go. Okay. Do you have for US companies? I answered that, Omoraye. Okay. I showed you Pavel. Okay, I showed you Pavel who landed a job with the Arizona Community Physicians. All right. And there's so many. This is just one of them. Okay. Pavel is a healthcare data and reporting analyst with the Arizona Community Physicians in Tucson, Arizona. Okay. So this is the organization right here, Arizona Community Physicians, Medical Practices, Tucson, Arizona. You can read about what they do, about the organization, what are they about, and so on and so forth. Okay, Arizona Community Physicians is the largest physician-owned medical practice in the state of Arizona, with 130 physicians and a total of 35 physician assistants and nurse practitioners. This is where Pavel works. But he doesn't work as a nurse practitioner. He doesn't work as a physician. He works as a healthcare data reporting analyst. Okay. I hope that answers your question. Let me see more questions. The installment payment is good news to me because wife and Peking go chop. Absolutely, Mobolaji, I agree. Oh my goodness. That cracked me up. I'm in Finland. We are often faced with challenges as language barrier. Is it possible that a data analyst have the same challenge? Very good question. Let me show you somebody who is in Poland. This gentleman is in Poland, not Finland, but his story is very similar to yours. His name is William Patrick. Let me look for him. Yes, William Archibong Patrick. So to answer your question, Chinedum, this is William. When William joined us, or before he joined, he was a bit skeptical. Oh, will I get a job in Poland if I join from Poland? Okay. But guess what? Eventually he joined our data analytics program. You'd see that here. You both worked at Analytics. And if you go to his profile, you'd see data analyst with Analytics. And he got a job as a strategy analyst with Marsh McLennan in Poland, an insurance-based organization in Poland, as a strategy analyst. Now, how did he get this job? William, his background is in mechanical civil engineering. So you'd see that he studied in education. You'd see he studied in Igbinedion University, civil engineering, right? He did his master's in Poland, construction civil engineering. But he found one thing when trying to apply to jobs as a civil engineer, which was the language barrier. So there was a language barrier across every single role in construction. So he knew that even though I have a background in civil engineering, I would not get a job as a civil engineer in Poland because of the language barrier. So what did he do? He joined Tenalytics, did our data analytics program the same time he was doing his master's in Poland, around the same period. Okay. And guess what? He landed his job as a strategy analyst. What does he do for this company? He helps them analyze performance data, KPIs, and SLAs. He helps to develop and maintain dashboards and reports, partner with brokers, finance, client advisories, and so on and so forth. That's what he does today. And this was when he got the job with Marsh McLennan sometime last, I think around October, November last year, if I'm correct. And he made this announcement. I'm excited to share I've officially joined Marsh McLennan as a strategy analyst. William is in Poland. So just like you, Chinedum, in Finland, data analytics, usually you'd find more opportunities that are broad-based, where you can get a job just like William did. And William was able to navigate the space and got a job where, language wasn't a barrier. And the beauty about this again is, as a data analyst, somebody who has data skills, you can work remotely. Okay, so you can live in Finland, work for companies in the US, work for companies across different other regions. Do you have links with any companies that may favor your top students? We always get requests for candidates, so many requests. I can't remember some of the candidates that got a job. Savant Trent, Analytics. Let me try to search for this gentleman. I know he got a job with Savant Trent, but this is one of them. And this is the other gentleman. Fantastic. So you see these two guys, Sunday Adelusi, you'd see that they both worked with Analytics, okay? Data analyst consultant with Analytics. And the other gentleman, Oluwaseun Adamoloja, also worked with Analytics, and he got a job in the same company, Savant Trent. So why am I highlighting the same company, Savant Trent? One of the companies that gets recommendations from us, they ask us, we want to hire a regulatory data analyst. Do you have a candidate? Yes, we do. We share CVs with them. They invite you for interviews. That was how Sunday got this job as a regulatory data analyst after our data analytics program. Same with Oluwaseun. So Sunday, being in this organization, when the organization wanted to hire for this role in Savant Trent as a data delivery specialist, Sunday Adelusi sent the recommendation. He referred Oluwaseun And that was how Oluwaseun got this job as a data delivery specialist in the same organization. So organizations would reach out, provide us with candidates, we share your CVs with them, and then they invite you for interviews. Okay. How does the optimization work? Okay. I'm not sure I understand your question, Samsung. What's the difference between the data analyst and the business analyst? Okay. Simply put, let me explain this in the simplest way possible. The data analyst, Somi, works with data. They analyze data, they extract insights, or you can call it information from data to help organizations take decision. So the case study we looked at, the medical organization wants to know what is the length of stay per department. So we can know the department with the highest or the longest length of stay. We can find out why there is a long length of stay. What do we need to do to reduce the length of stay, to make it shorter, so we can save costs of the patients within the hospital and so on and so forth. But to answer those questions, they need somebody who knows how to use data skills, data tools and technologies like Excel, Power BI, SQL to analyze that data, extract insights where we can see what is happening in the company, what happened, and why it happened, and we can take decisions on the best, action to take. So the data analyst would work with data and they answer two questions in any organization. What happened and why did it happen? Using data to answer those questions. The business analyst, on the other hand, does not work with data on a day-to-day basis. The business analyst focuses on processes within organizations. Every organization has people, processes, and technology. The business analyst focuses on processes. How long does it take to complete something? If a task takes 5 days, how can we reduce this task to take 5 minutes or 5 seconds or 2 seconds or 2 minutes? Where are the gaps and inefficiencies within this process from A to B? If I identify the gaps and inefficiencies, I need to close those gaps, close those inefficiencies, so we can reduce the time it takes to complete a process from A to B. And also, most of the time, to reduce a process from 5 days to 5 minutes would require automation. So the business analyst, after mapping out the process, identifying the inefficiencies and the gaps within that process, would come up with recommendations and strategies to build a software to automate that process. But the business analysts themselves don't build the software. They work with the technology team as a middleman between the business and the technology team. The technology team would build that software to meet the requirements of the business. And at the end of the day, they supervise that project, make sure everything is done properly. And that process that used to take 5 days now takes 5 minutes because an automation has been implemented. So the business analyst is a process optimization specialist. The business analyst optimizes processes. They help organizations do things a lot faster, saving costs and increasing revenue. The data analyst, on the other hand, works with data, analyzes data, extracts insights and information to help businesses take decisions. Okay, so that's as simple as I can put it. So I don't know if that helps. The skills are different across the two career paths. Okay, the data analyst would learn Excel, Power BI, problem solving, Tableau, SQL. The business analyst would focus a whole lot more on process optimization, stakeholder analysis and engagement, process mapping, okay, agile practices for projects, elicitation, requirements gathering, requirement fundamentals. Yes, they get to learn a little bit of data using Excel, Power BI, and SQL, but not in-depthly the way the data analyst would. I hope that answers your question, Somi. I'll take one more question and then we start to call it a day. All right. I have a BSc in political science and an MSc in international relations. And I'm asking in regards to the domain you advised us to leverage on, or is it best to switch completely? Now, in your fair J, so you can switch into anything you want to switch into. All right. And I'll give you an example. I studied industrial chemistry. I've worked in financial services. I've worked in energy. I've worked in sports. I've worked in automobile and I've worked in ed tech, 5 different sectors. Okay. And every single time I moved into a new industry, all I needed to do was work on projects the same way I've explained to you. If I want to move into, let's say, aviation, for example, I'm going to look for aviation related projects, work on a lot of them, understand the industry, understand the sector, and then I can move into those areas. Okay. Now, for those of you, to answer your question and your fair Jesu, for those of you that join the data analytics, want to move into health tech, you would also get to work on other projects, not just health tech projects. The health tech projects are there for you to add to your portfolio as evidence that, yes, I have a healthcare background, healthcare knowledge. These are the projects I've completed. Okay. However, you'd still work on other projects. You'd work on, let me show you this. I think I showed you the portfolio earlier. Okay, so this is the portfolio for the ER visits, the emergency room. I showed you this earlier. You'd see projects in aviation, Redux airline flight analysis using Excel. You'd see logistic projects using Tableau. So you get to work on more projects so you can compete for more jobs, even outside healthcare if you want to. All right. I think we might call it a day at this point because of time. What I want you to do is, for those of you who will be taking advantage, and even for those of you who might, maybe not now, but you take advantage later, but I always advise, you see all these amazing success stories I've shared with you, they all started in the same situation. They joined a free session like this, they got all the information, and they had enough to take an action and start the journey into a high paying career. Okay. So your journey to a high paying career starts from here, the decision you make today. But before you leave, make sure you follow Tenalytics on YouTube. Search for us on YouTube. Go to YouTube and search Tenalytics. You'd find us right there. Click on this. Make sure you are subscribed so you have access to so many other numerous, success stories. You can listen to other professionals. If you come here, you can hear them, hear their transition story, how they did it. Follow us on LinkedIn. Follow us on Instagram. Follow me on LinkedIn. I'll be very happy to engage every one of you. And for those of you in the community, it's important that you look out for the links that will be shared. So if you have more questions at any point in time, you can book something we call a clarity session. All right. But you also want to be sure that you also want to be careful. The clarity session, you might jump into that clarity session and at the end of the day realize that the discount is already gone because it's just for the first 20 people. This is the last question I'll take for today because it's a question that I'm very passionate about, and it's something I've seen too many people, a mistake I've seen too many people make. So I'm going to address it, and that's from Ife Oluwani. Thanks for asking that question, Ife Oluwani. Ife is asking, I understand you never mentioned any certification or degree. Is that important or necessary to get a job? Beautiful question. Ife Oluwani, there is a saying we have at Tenalytics. I'm looking for a blank page. Okay, there is a saying we have, and that saying is what? I'm going to write it out. Competence over credentials. Competence over credentials. Never forget this, Ife Oluwani. You could have all the certifications in the world. I've met so many people like that. They have all the certifications you can think of, but they still cannot get a job. Why? Because employers don't care about your certifications. They want to know, do you have the skills? And do you have the experience? Simple. Employers need these two things from you, and that's what forms your competence, your skills and your experience. They're going to test your skills. You're not going to get a job as a data analyst in a data role without working on a case study. You'll be given a data set to solve, and you'll be asked to come present your findings. That's how they assess your skill level. And that's where we also work with you to get you to, complete what you need to complete at a level that we know that if you present this, you will get that job. Then they also want to know you've done that job before. Don't tell us what you can do. Don't show us a paper that anybody can read and prepare and go write the exam and pass that exam. Have you done this job before? Do you have experience doing the job? Don't tell me what you can do. Show me what you've done. And that's what our session today centered around. Competence, how to build competence to do the job when you get the job. Certifications don't help you do that. Credentials don't help you do that. I did a master's myself in the UK in big data science and technology. It was a waste of about 18,000 pounds. It was a waste of 18,000 pounds for me. It was a waste of 1 year of my life doing that master's because it helped me in no way in doing the job. No way whatsoever. It was highly theoretical. It was working on, different group work, group projects that had nothing to do with the real world of work. To surprise you that universities in the UK were still teaching Weka as a technology that you need to learn. Weka. And I implore you to search for a data analyst role, a data science role, and tell me where you're going to find Weka as one of the tools required to get the job. You'd never find it. But the school, the university teaches that tool, which is a waste of time, like I said. So credentials, certifications, employers have gone past that. They know that you having a certificate does not mean you can do the job. All right. So write this somewhere in your notepad. Competence over credentials. Your skills and your experience is what gets you the job. All right. If you got value for your time today, you got value for spending about 2 hours with me today, typing a yes into the chat of our session for today. Typing a yes into the chat. So I look forward to working with all of you. Follow me on Instagram, follow me on LinkedIn, follow me across other platforms. And I look forward to working with you to help you make that jump into the career path that make the difference for you in 2026. That would not happen if you don't take action. Thank you very much, guys. I'd look forward to working with all of you. Have an amazing weekend, and thanks for spending 2 hours plus of your time with us this weekend. Okay? Cheers, everyone, and have an amazing time. And I look forward to working with you. Take advantage.